Hello, this is Leah Whitehorse from Astrology with the cosmic forecast for November 2014. Okay, so this month is a little bit quieter than last month. We had the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse and the Mercury retrograde, so there was a lot going on. This month, although it's quieter and we do get a kind of calm after the storm, there is a little bit of a bump in the middle of the month with Mars. And perhaps we could see this, that maybe the best way of seeing it is that perhaps it will get us to sit up and pay attention. We begin the month with a full moon in Taurus, and that's going to be on the 6th of November. The full moon has got a little bit of an extra kick because the moon is exalted in Taurus. And there's a powerful trine over to Pluto in Capricorn. So what I'm getting from this full moon is that because of Venus, the ruler of this full moon, is over in Scorpio, Venus is in detriment in Scorpio, so it may feel a little bit like you're out of your comfort zone. But if you can embrace this, then it'll only make you stronger. Part of you may be fighting against this discomfort, and that's because we've got a square to Jupiter over in Leo from the full moon in Taurus, and it's a little bit like pulling the covers over your head and pretending none of it's happening. But the thing is with Taurus is the first of the earth signs, so what you need to do is to deal with the practicalities of life. Taurus is about your basic needs: food, shelter, warmth, love, all of those things that give you a feeling of security. And there's also actually a sextile from the full moon to Chiron as well, so it is important to take care of yourself, take care of those basics of life, and then everything else can take care of itself. Make time to smell the roses. Taurus loves to move slowly. Even if times are hard, it's important to value those small moments of peace. At full moon in Taurus, the sun is over in Scorpio, so Taurus is opposite sign. Taurus appreciates every moment because it knows that as we move through life, there are crises, there are endings and change. And of course, we have the inevitability of our own mortality. This makes it even more important to enjoy what you have now. Mercury enters Scorpio on the 8th of November, and as it does this, it's going to cross over the eclipse degree, and then on the 10th of November, Mercury will finally exit the shadow zone from the previous retrograde period. So putting that all together, what it tends to do is to bring to mind or bring into the consciousness issues that were raised during the retrograde period and during the solar eclipse. It's possible that you could start to feel that the answers are finally coming to the questions that you have. Your mind is a lot more insightful now, so things do start to make more sense. Maybe there's a need for a deep conversation with someone to clear the air. But if that's not possible, maybe you could write down what you're feeling so that you can gain some clarity on what's going on in your mind. The caution with Mercury in Scorpio is not to get involved in mind games with other people. Things like manipulation through secrets or hidden agendas. What works is the truth. However, it's wise to be cautious about how that truth is presented, because Mercury in Scorpio does tend to go for the brutal truth, and sometimes that's not very palatable for the other person. Sometimes the brutal truth can prolong conflict. Be honest with yourself about what you think. Own your thoughts. Don't try to push the thoughts away because they seem dark or twisted or just really uncomfortable, because these thoughts are clues to the deeper feelings that need to be addressed. Don't be afraid to name your fears. The shadows that are unknown are far more scary. By naming them, you empower yourself to enter into a dialogue with your deepest self. Now, just as you start to get these answers that you are looking for, Mars steps in with a conjunction to Pluto, and this is going to be on the 10th of November as well. So these are quite intense times. Perhaps the eclipse revelations have erupted in rage, or maybe you're now passionately fighting for something that's important to you. There is a huge amount of energy when Mars and Pluto get together, and a real impetus to do something, but it needs to be handled wisely. Essentially, what's happening is that Mars is starting to get caught up in all this tension that is now building again between Uranus and Pluto. So not only do we have this Mars conjunction to Pluto, then Mars is going to go on to square Uranus, and that'll be on the 13th of November. So these aspects do generate some tension. It can also manifest as reckless actions, rage, frustration, sudden jumps forward, and sometimes ruthless decisions. There can be a bit of a tendency for frying pan fire scenarios. These daredevil aspects can really propel you forwards, smashing through obstacles and freeing you from all restrictions. But they can also spin out of control just as easily, so do ensure you know when to apply the brakes. Mars is then square to the Nodal Axis. This is the true node that I use personally. Some people use the mean node. However, we've got this square from Mars to the Nodal Axis on the 20th of November. So this may raise some issues about what you wanted in the past and what you would like for yourself in the future. It's a really good way to check in with your goals, especially if you don't feel like you're making any headway with one or even all of them. It's possible that somewhere along the line, your goals are conflicting with each other. Maybe some of the goals you've set yourself are no longer applicable. Maybe they never were. Maybe you desire something a bit more challenging, but you're not sure if you're brave enough to really take it on. The other side of Mars square to the nodes is that I've noticed it can manifest as being furiously independent. It's like self-sufficiency to a fault. No man is an island or woman. You can't do it all alone. The Sun enters Sagittarius on the 22nd of November, and straight away is followed by a new moon in Sagittarius as well. This new moon is interesting. It's on the Sabian symbol, army veterans gather to reawaken old memories. The challenge with this new moon is that it's going to be conjunct Saturn, and Saturn is still in Scorpio. So we've got from Sagittarius this desire for freedom and expansion. But it could be easy to drag up your war wounds and old battles in order to try and extricate yourself from a difficult situation. There's also a wide conjunction from the new moon to Venus, and in a way this puts you in a place between fear, which is Saturn, and love, which is Venus. We've got a square to Neptune as well, and that sets up a conflict. And the conflict is, do you forgive and forget, or simply accept? Or it can catapult you into a feeling of victim consciousness. So we need to be careful with this square to Neptune. And then on the other side, we've got a square to Jupiter again as well. And really that just serves to emphasize whichever side you fall on, fear or love. With the square to Neptune, there's a danger you could be envisioning a future that is highly unrealistic. It could mean that your memory of what happened in the past has been distorted, which then twists your perception of things to come. The way through some of these difficult aspects with this Sagittarius new moon is to clear your vision and focus on love. Focus on what you really value most of all in your life. With hindsight, this could prove to be a very important time in your life. So don't cloud your future horizons by embellishing or distorting the truth of what once was. Be in the here and now and know that you're free to enjoy your life and be open to what life may bring. Sometimes there's war, sometimes there's peace. The trick is to see it all as a learning experience. Be prepared to explore your beliefs and look at what gives your life meaning. You can either choose to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or you can turn your bow to the sky and aim for a higher truth. So this month I chose the Gilded Tarot, and the card that came out was the Eight of Wands. And this is interesting because this card relates to Mercury in Sagittarius, and Mercury actually does move into Sagittarius on the 28th of November. I only cut it out of the main part of the astrology because the video was looking like it might get a little bit too long, but Mercury has found his voice and decided to show himself through this card. So the Eight of Wands, whenever I get this card, I get a sense of things speeding up. So like events start to speed up. And with Mars conjunct Pluto and square to Uranus, it's a little bit like throwing all your sticks up in the air and just waiting to see which one falls and which one lands first. It makes me think that by the end of November, with this Sagittarius influence coming in, any feelings of being stuck or frustrated or anger or rage or all those things that Mars might be bringing up in the middle of the month, they become superseded by this need to be on the move, the need to get going, a sense that things start to free up. Now I do find this card also comes up to mean communication. Sometimes it's literally fallen out the pack when I'm just about to get a text or particularly an email. In fact, it tends to be more instantaneous communication, such as on the internet or text. It may be that you find some interesting information this month which changes your outlook. Maybe you hear a story or a conversation which changes or opens up your opinion to something else. There is a certain excitement with this card, and whilst you might not be able to ground all of your ideas just yet, it does have a feeling of things taking an upturn. Now in this particular deck, what's interesting, and I hadn't really noticed too much before, is that there's a flock of sheep grazing in the field below all these wands that are flying in the air. And that immediately made me think that it's alluding to the idea of you don't have to follow the herd. You can be the black sheep. Dare to be different. That's the thing. Dare to be different. Dare to implement your own ideas and develop your own philosophy. You really don't have to do what everyone else does. Now that Mercury is out of the shadow zone and speeding through Sagittarius, you might find yourself in a situation where you have to wing it, or you have to be on the ball and make a really quick decision. Perhaps there's an offer or an opportunity that comes out of the blue. So the real productive way of using this energy is to make the first part of the month, the first part of November, a time to get really clear about what you want to do, so that if an opportunity comes along, you can recognize it. And also it's about recognizing that it serves your long-term goals, your wider vision of what you want and where you want to go. This card can indicate that you can achieve a lot in a short space of time because you're moving quickly. The only thing is that sometimes some things can get left to one side because the energy is a little bit scattered. So it's important to ensure you focus so that you can actually complete the things that you want to do. But overall, I think this is a great card because it says remain positive, stay upbeat, because the more optimistic you are, the more positive you are, the more options you have available to you.